俺も定め。
In 1987, the Japanese media franchise Capcom launched a video game that would kickstart a legacy of its own. Street Fighter emerged as not only one of the highest-grossing video game series of all time, it also laid down some of the most accepted ground rules for one-on-one fighting. An eclectic bunch of villains keeps the arcade cabinet rolling, with Akuma ranking highest among the most feared martial artists the world has ever seen. He is the master of the fist, the harbinger of pain, the wielder of the Dark Hado, and only a few have ever dared to challenge him in a duel. He's exactly the stuff that nightmares are made of, and his name is mentioned only in restrained whispers. But today, let's demystify this legend once and for all. So brace up as we bring you the complete lore of Akuma, the greatest of all time. Before we get into this explanation though, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to the channel. It's a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Who is Akuma? Every mad demon was once a naive little child whose innocence was buried in the tragedy of a dark past, and Akuma is no exception. This is exactly the story you'll find in Street Fighter Origins Akuma, Udon's first ever book-length graphic novel, and a very original one. It delves into the hidden corners of his mind and unlocks his tale of innocence lost, giving his fans exactly what they needed ever since the video game first gave him his popularity. Akuma made his debut in Super Street Fighter II Turbo as a hidden final boss. His elder brother Gouken is quite the rage, and Akuma was no less. Drunk on power and switching off his emotions, he was obsessed with mastering the Satsui no Hado, a dark force which is the antithesis of the power of nothingness that Gouken and Ryu use. Now, Akuma means fortitude, great demon, great devil, or great ogre in Japanese, where he is referred to as Goki. Let's see if he lives up to his name. Origins: The Split. Akuma and Gouken were ferocious disciples of the Gotetsu, who trained the brothers in a mystic art form that is basically a mix of karate, judo, and kempo. The master also taught the lethal technique of Shungoku Satsu, which not only gives immense powers to the user, but can also bring doom upon the untrained fighter who's using it. Gouken refused to walk the path of intense soul-crushing violence, choosing to walk out instead and start his own dojo, and Gotetsu was okay with that. Akuma, however, adopted this method with his entire being and remained true to the essence of Gotetsu's teachings. In fact, he perfected it and became a master of the art in his own right. Thus, the seeds of dispute were sown and the brothers grew up to be antagonists, differing in their taste, style, and philosophy. Satsui no Hado, an unrestrained force. Greedy for more, Akuma gave into the dark side of the art of Satsui no Hado. He was forced to remove any shred of compassion he might feel for fellow human beings. Mind you, Gotetsu was very disciplined and always had it under control, but Akuma left his master's guidance to push his own limits as a martial artist and unlock its potential to its full extent. His bloodlust only grew with time, and now he craved fighting to death. Even Gotetsu couldn't escape his unrestrained madness, but he died a happy man, seeing his pupil surpass him. Akuma then took his dead master's prayer beads and wore them as a garland of victory. Just then, Gouken came to visit his old master and was absolutely shocked to see the soulless body. At the same time, he saw that Akuma was no longer human. What could he say? He simply left for the woods. Years later, the brothers would meet again, but in a deadly face-off that would leave the bond even more sour. The brutal face-off, defeating Gouken. In the presence of a young Ryu and Ken, we'll come to them later, Akuma took Gouken head-on. Gouken wants to fight, but he would never kill his own blood. That's what sets him apart from Akuma, who calls Gouken weak for not being able to kill. He even berates his deceased master for not truly understanding the actual principles of the art. Anyways, after a lot of serious talks and a bloody battle, Gouken emerges victorious, sparing his brother's life. Obviously, Akuma vowed revenge, and he did come back to Gouken's dojo a couple of years later. This time, Akuma would rain down on his brother with full force. On the face of it, Gouken seems dead, falling flat on the floor in a pool of blood. But in reality, he had managed to survive the attack by emptying his soul, which led to a temporary coma. Ken had seen a glimpse of this attack, and now he challenged Akuma to a duel. Akuma's strength is unmatched, and naturally, he defeats Ken pretty easily. World Warrior Tournaments. hunting down a worthy opponent. While Akuma first debuted in Super Street Fighter II Turbo, he was only selectable with the use of a secret code, although he could be fully selected in Alpha 2. His moveset matches those of Ryu and Ken, and artwork tells us that at one point he helps a child lost in a cave. He even defeats M. Bison in the retconned ending, after which he broods over feeling empty despite his win. We also get a glimpse of Gouken as an opponent in the background. Thirsty for victory, Akuma hunts the entire globe, searching for worthy warriors who he can challenge to a duel. He stalks street fighting scenes and small tournaments, lurking in the shadows, desperate to meet at least someone who matches his prowess. Finally, he meets Gen, who fights bravely with grace, surviving the vicious Shungoku Satsu by emptying his soul just in time. Of course, the results vary according to the arcade route the player undertakes. In Akuma's non-canon ending, seeds of doubt sprout in his heart. Is Gen really the worthy opponent he's been looking for all this while? Blood gushes out of Gen's mouth and Akuma spares Gen's life, believing that this isn't a fair fight. Naturally, Gen is fuming with rage. But in Gen's canon ending, the tables are turned. After narrowly defeating Akuma, Gen just couldn't make the fatal blow as he was enjoying the fight way too much. He needed Akuma alive just so he could fight him again. After this feat, Akuma's obsession with Ryu begins and he hopes to awaken the Satsui no Hado within his prey. Ryu traces Akuma to his island, Onigami Isle, or the Gokuento, and challenges him to a bloody duel which ends with Ryu believing that he has gained the upper hand. But not so quick, little champ. Akuma was only warming himself up to test Ryu. Before striking an incredible blow on the ground that sends ripples across the entire world, Akuma advises Ryu to find him again when he finally embraces the Satsui no Hado in true spirit. As the island collapses around him, Ryu is left in the middle of the ocean contemplating the words he just heard. What truly drives Akuma at this point is his hope that one day he'll find that one guy, the chosen one, who will finally kill him in a proud battle. He starts anew in the Kiga Cave, a desolate cavern where he trains himself for that fateful day where he'll fight Ryu again. Only true fans of martial arts would understand Akuma's eccentric desire for honor that lends him purpose in life. When a Muay Thai fighter prepares to fight the champion, Adon, Akuma kills the guy, enraging Adon, who sees this as a personal vendetta. On the face of it, you can call Akuma a total jerk who just wants to piss people off. What you're missing is the unwavering faith of a mighty warrior who worships his art and dedicates his entire being to it. As Akuma awaits Ryu's transformation, he continues to wander around the world. He defeats Adon one more time, deeming him an unworthy opponent to whom he won't give the grace of death. Akuma and Guy also fight each other before realizing that they shared the same goal of defeating M. Bison. When Akuma finally confronts Bison, the latter reveals that so long as the Psycho Drive exists, killing him is a distant dream. Akuma snides at this tyrannical evil guy for using anything except the raw power of the fist, and a deadly combat ensues. M. Bison can never withstand the fatal attack of the Shungoku Satsu, and he dies a horrible death. We also see Akuma challenged into a second battle by Gen, but the results are unknown. You know the saddest part? Akuma doesn't know this, but Ryu has given up the violent means inherent in Satsui no Hado, and this realization dawned upon Ryu while fighting the Shadaloo leader, M. Bison. The ever-expanding franchise. In the second World Warrior tournament, the wait continues. Akuma may not have officially participated in the duel, but he always kept an eye out for a deserving opponent who could oust him. Here, he mostly engages with M. Bison and defeats him. Both the original Super Street Fighter II Turbo and its HD remake give Akuma two endings whose outcomes are based on who the final opponent is. In the case of Bison, what troubles Akuma is that he failed to master the Psycho Power and had to bend to its will. When it comes to his full-power counterpart, Shin Akuma, our hero is torn over his victory over his own darkness and regards death as inferior to him. We really love how Super Street Fighter II Turbo Revival tries to merge these two endings. It was tricky, but well done, don't you think? Super Street Fighter II Ultra removed the second ending, which was also probably pretty smart. In Street Fighter IV, The Ties That Bind, Akuma slithers into Ryu's mind and teases him about resisting the Satsui no Hado. But a resolute Ryu replies that he will resist it until his last breath. Unlike Akuma, Ryu aims for something far beyond power, an arrogant chase that Akuma finds stupid. Akuma even points out that Ryu's blood is calling to him and that he must answer it with his life. But nothing can break Ryu, and eventually he kicks Akuma out using the Satsui no Hado unconsciously. Now, this ever-expanding franchise is so vast with extended lore that we'll have to spend all night talking about all the events that unfold. In fact, there is a third World Warrior tournament and more fights ensue. With time, Akuma's unscathed powers keep on expanding with newer complexities within the larger storyline. So, let's take a good look at this ferocious fighter that's left fans starstruck. Anatomy. First of all, such a dynamic character is bound to undergo changes throughout the course of the franchise, but his monstrous look remains quite memorable. A dark-colored gi, it could be blue, black, or gray depending on the series or the artwork, with the sleeves torn off, should immediately remind you of Akuma. But then it is very similar to Ryu and Ken's attire, so what sets him apart? We think it's his classic red mane with the top knot and sharp-pointed teeth that curdle our blood. Some games even have him wearing brown sandals. In others, he fights with bare feet. You'd often find him wearing a black belt around his waist or maybe a rope. Depending on the game or the piece of art, he either wears a black belt on his waist or a length of rope. Brown training gauntlets or just plain rope graces his hands. Tanned skin, crimson eyes, and his master's beads around his neck make him an oddly terrifying villain god. Further into the series, we see his hair growing into a white mane, signaling the passage of time and the brevity of life, no matter how inhuman or demonic the fighter is. Personality. Cold and heartless, Akuma never smiles, and why would he? A disciplined fighter, he doesn't really vibe with people. Akuma takes great pride in fighting, which reveals a lot about his personality. He sees this as a battle between life and death. He craves Ryu and waits for the guy's deadly transition like he would bait and wait during fishing. Akuma never kills the weak because he finds honor in the act of killing. He saw his master die a happy man because a more worthy fighter had taken over. Learning from his teacher, Akuma believes that only a worthy opponent deserves to be killed, and he spares those that he finds weak and sterile. It's no wonder that all his life he's run after the glory that death at the hands of a true warrior would give him. Inspiration. Some fans speculate that the inspiration for Akuma's character came from the Electronic Gaming Monthly April issue in 1992. It all started with an April Fool's prank where they printed a character hoax of Sheng Long. Ardent fans of the series went crazy over the hype, only to be disappointed by the bluff. Consequently, Akuma came to life based on Ryu's design and standing as a major contrast to the regular boss, M. Bison. Wait there, this gets even crazier. Within an hour, on the instructions of his superiors, the designer had to create something similar to the Super Saiyan transformation from the Dragon Ball franchise. Impulsively, the designer even modeled Akuma's face upon a Buddha statue called the Kongo Rikishi statue. Now, who'd have thought of that? Marvelous verdict! What started as a joke has taken the shape of a legacy that only a few would dare live up to. Ironically, Akuma's greatest strength is his greatest nemesis. No one can take him down. Street Fighter brings a truly eclectic bunch of villains, each with their own morals and ambitions, towering high in the history of the best fighters ever created, but Akuma stands apart with his primal lust for fatality. The game series did everything it could: playable boss characters, faster gameplay, extra characters, and so on. But it was only with the introduction of Akuma and super moves that the franchise took a stellar leap. His legacy lives on through multiple media where the character has received an insane amount of love, be it the games, the films, the comics, or the merch. In the end, Akuma isn't inherently good or evil, as people often think him to be. He just is. He's a philosophy in himself, a way of life that only few can understand and fewer can embrace. His pursuit of excellence, in himself or in others, is his religion. He's a warrior, and the glamour of battle is the bread and butter of his soul. That's all for this time, but if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Otherwise, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.